Want to know what's going on in the world of music? Then tune in to the Nothing Shocking Podcast, a non-genre based, all-ages friendly rock and roll program. Join us weekly for interviews with all your favorite rock stars from the mainstream to the underground. You can find us at nothingshocking.libsyn.com or anywhere you download podcasts.
We're putting the band back together.
The numbers all go to 11.
I'm talking about bands that rock. Led Zeppelin. What about Sabbath? AC/DC. Motorhead.
Does that mean it's louder? Is it any louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it?
We're not worthy. We're not worthy.
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
I get up off the ground and raise my head. Days like this, think I should be dead. One for Satan, two for me. Let's cheat the devil, it's fun, don't you agree?
Welcome to the Nothing Shocking Podcast. I'm your co-host, Jeff Untied, and with me in Dogbolt Studios is
Coach Nez.
You can find the Nothing Shocking Podcast on Libsyn or any podcatchers. Like our Facebook page or follow us on Twitter at NoShockPod.
You can also find the Nothing Shocking Podcast on Rock Rage Radio every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Central Time. Our sponsor is Ragged Records, located in downtown Rock Island, Illinois, and downtown Davenport, Iowa. We'd like to thank the Hong Kong Sleepover for allowing us to use their music for our intro and bumper ending. Tonight's guest is
Pat Travers.
Yeah, promoting his new album, The Art of Time Travel.
Yeah, it's a great album. Check it out.
Fantastic. Hey, great interview. Let's get to it.
Yeah, good night.
Good night. Pat, welcome to the Nothing Shocking Podcast. I'd like to introduce you my co-host, Jeff Untied.
Pat, thanks for joining us tonight.
I'm happy to be here, Jeff and Eric. This is going to be awesome.
We are so excited to have you on the podcast tonight. So, been listening to you since I was a little kid.
Yeah.
So this is kind of like I have to pinch myself right now. On August 19th, you released your newest album, The Art of Time Travel. Can you talk a little bit more about the creation of this new album?
Well, sure. First of all, it's a great album. I worked very hard on it. I did the record deal right as the pandemic was starting at the beginning of 2020, and then we lost every show we had that year. And so I just decided I was going to focus on writing the best material I could and recording the best performances I could and making a great album like I used to do, when I was making albums like Crash and Burn,
absolutely,
Putting It Straight, and things like that. I had time to work on those, unlike in years gone by where the budget shrunk and
yes,
you kind of had to get everything done in about 2 weeks, But I can do a good album in 2 weeks, but a great album takes a little longer.
Absolutely.
So I was happy about that aspect, and it gave me something to focus on. And and then, I kind of had some themes running through it, like a whole lot of people. Most of my life I had extreme anxiety, and, it caused me to be able to enjoy some of the successes that I had throughout my life. You second guess yourself and you get indecisive and all that, and you just go, oh, well, that was crap, I could have done better, and you just beat yourself up all the time. So I resolved in 2016, right before Trump was voted in, which I thought was a good time to do it, to try to analyze and figure out what exactly this anxiety was. And, so I read a whole bunch of things and listened online to a whole bunch of things, and read about the fight or flight response that people have. And plus, I'm lucky because I've been training in karate for about 18 years, so I know how to train, and I know how to make myself tired. So that was a good thing to do, too, was to just get physically tired every day so you sleep good and you have a good appetite, and all that breathing is good for you. And so that was one thing, but I really just came to the conclusion that a lot of anxiety is just a bad habit. You just have go-to things that you do in response to things that, upset you, or like the title track, The Art of Time Travel. The first verse is, you're either thinking about stuff that's going to happen in the future that's horrible, that's either going to happen to you or a loved one, but it's never going to happen, but you still sit there and ruminate on it anyway, which just causes anxiety. Then you alternate and go and think about some bonehead play you made 20 years ago and start beating yourself up over that, and I suddenly realized that the best place to be is right here in the future, but right in the present, which is, something you can say, but being able to do it takes practice, and so that's basically where I started with this album, and The Art of Time Travel was the first track that I wrote and recorded, and it kind of set the tone for everything else to follow.
Oh, very good. Well, COVID-19 gave many artists, obviously the downtime, like you just said, to experiment and challenge oneself to make new incredible material. Did you feel as though the COVID pandemic gave you a renaissance in your writing style? Did you take any chances that you wouldn't have done previously before? Did you kind of feel like it gave you a revitalization on your songwriting and your instrumentation?
I definitely felt revitalized, and I also felt more confident in my songwriting and my lyrics. And in the past I would kind of anguish over lyrics and second guess myself and do this and that, but I finally felt confident that I was saying what I wanted to say in kind of a cool way. And I just stopped second guessing myself, So I went more with my first impressions, which is probably the best place to go,
Oh, very good. Jeff, you got the next one?
Well, I guess this kind of leads into the song "Push Yourself," so it's kind of the same theme. That was a very good motivational song. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, yeah, because I've not been immune to depression either, and it still happens to me. Yeah. Like I get a text or a phone message or an email from somebody, and I should email them or text them right back, but I don't, because I feel like I don't have anything interesting to say, or whatever. So, Push Yourself was that thing where, you'll retreat from the world, and you won't answer your phone.
Yeah.
You won't answer a knock at the door, and then eventually you just reach a point where you go, well, this can't continue. I have to overcome this. And that's with the whole, move your ass and get in gear and do it. And that really is the solution to that, and I recommend for people that are trying to change some bad habits that they just pick a day, next week, couple of days from now, whatever. Make a commitment on that day. I'm going to stop doing this and start doing this, and I'm going to make a commitment, and I'm going to do this, for 3 weeks or whatever. And like if you just start walking or I don't know, anything, physical activity is very important. And as is, breathing and seeing nature and all those things. That's, as humans, that's what we're good at, is, walking and checking out plants and wildlife and the weather and all that stuff. That's what our ancient ancestors did. And that's why we're here, because they were good at it.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of tracks, my favorite track obviously is Ronnie, hands down my favorite track on the album, and it's the tribute to the late Ronnie Montrose. Can you kind of give us the nuts and bolts of the creation of that track, and maybe give us a little bit more of the relationship that you and Ronnie shared back in your time together?
Sure. Well, of course, the first Montrose album came out, and I really enjoyed it because it was, in a way, a kind of Bay Area or America's response to Led Zeppelin, and I thought they did a pretty good job, Yeah. But then after that, the first time I saw Ronnie live he was playing with Edgar Winter, because he was on 1 or 2 albums with him, and he just impressed me with the way he stood and his intense eyes, and just looking out into the audience. And when it was solo time, he just jumped forward and got right into it, super confident and capable. And so that impressed me and influenced me a lot, to have that confident lead guitar player stance on stage, and because at that time I wasn't really a vocalist. I sang mostly just backing vocals and sung a song here and there. So I was just a lead guitar player. So, Ronnie really impressed me and inspired me. And then, we did a show together in Carson City, Nevada, but that was with his other band,
Gamma.
What were they called?
Gamma.
Yeah. And Steve Smith was on drums, but we went on after him, and he was a little upset about that, because that was kind of like his home turf,
Sure.
Yeah.
And so I didn't get to meet him that day, but a few years later, when I'm here just outside Orlando in Florida, and he was doing a show and at a venue, and I decided to go out in the afternoon and try to catch him at sound check and introduce myself. And when I got there, he's sitting in the back of a U-Haul truck with a beer, and I went, "Ronnie, Pat Travers," and he went, "Hey," and it was just like this instant connection, and he just was wonderful, and we just had the same sense of humor, and it was very cool. So over the years, occasionally we'd get to do a show together, and either I'd have him up play with me, or I'd get up and play with him, and I just always loved seeing him. And shortly before he died, we did a bunch of shows together, and that was always fun. And then, we would talk on the phone and just shoot the shit, and he was just, I just really, really liked him a lot. And, of course, when he passed, I was pretty upset about that. But, so I was working on the material for this new album, and had my computer on and was probably listening to radio classics on Sirius XM, the old time radio from the 40s and the 50s. And I was about to shut it off, and I had my favorite screen, and I noticed in one square there was Montrose Rock Candy live at the record plant in Sausalito. So I put that on, and it was about 2:00 in the morning, and it rocked me, and I went, yeah, that's inspired. I'm going to write a song about him. And so I pretty much wrote that whole tune in about a half an hour.
Oh, wow.
And then, then went to bed, and couldn't wait to get to rehearsals to show it to the guys. And they love it. Alex, our drummer, and David, our bass player, that's one of their favorite tunes. So it goes down great live, too.
So cool.
Yeah, as good as it sounds on the album, live, it's just like a monster. It's
nice.
Really, really heavy duty.
Oh, so cool. Jeff, you got the next one?
Well, I mean, when you write your songs, how do you approach them with the intent of playing them live, or do you work out all the chops to play them live later?
Mostly through my life, I have done the latter, where I wouldn't really worry too much if I could play and sing them.
Yeah.
This album, though, is a very live album, and some of the songs are a little tricky to play and sing, but I can pull that off. So I've had albums where I've done a lot of overdubs or done this and that, and I don't think they translate live very well, but every song on this album sounds great live.
Oh, so
nice.
Cool. Well, the Art of Time Travel seems to take me back to that 70s rock blues era. More so than so many other albums that we hear. But was that your conscious effort, is to take us back into that era and bring us back to that 70s rock blues era?
Yeah, absolutely. When given the opportunity to, have so much time to work on the album, I thought, I know how to make a great rock album. I've made some. So I know how to do that. And now I've got the opportunity. Initially, when I was talking to Cleopatra about this, I said, I only want 8 songs, 4 songs on, just like we would do on an old album, because when you're pressing vinyl, you don't really want to go over 20 minutes aside, because it starts to get distorted. And one of the reasons, ZZ Top albums sounded so good, they were lucky if they did 17 or 18 minutes total, but Brian Pereira said, no, you got to do 10. So, so I actually ended up writing 16. So I had more than I needed.
Oh, nice.
Very good. Very good.
The for guitars on this album, do you play your old favorite, or do you got multiple guitars you use?
I ordered a Strat from the Fender Custom Shop from John Cruz in 2019, and I got that guitar in December of 2019. And so that Strat, it's my Super Strat. I ended up using that pretty much exclusively. He made a Fender Esquire for me, which I used on tracks like Push Yourself and I Feel Good. It's got a more kind of brighter rock and roll sound. And then occasionally I used my PRS Custom 22, my 04, which is a great guitar. But it's a little darker in sound, and most of the songs I wanted a kind of a more sparkly, shimmery guitar sound, so I stuck with the Strat.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah.
Well, you know, in this part of your career, you know, what type of methodology are you going to approach, you know, support this album in cause of playing live shows? Are you going to do, you know, like a weekend type flyout dates to support this album? Or how are you going to approach the touring methodology on all this?
Yeah, that's basically all we can do at this point, and we've been doing that. And of course, we're supposed to go up to New York this weekend, but we have a big-ass hurricane coming up the Gulf Coast. I have no idea how that's going to affect our travel at this point. We won't know until probably Wednesday. You know, I think that the thing is going to go further west and go up and hit like the Alabama or the far west Florida panhandle. That's what they usually do.
Yeah, and that's got to be
But you never know. It might park itself 25 miles off Tampa for 2 days and just dump nothing but rain, you know.
Yeah. And,
so,
you know, for a Floridian like you, this has got to be nerve-wracking for you, is it not? You know, every October?
No, not anymore. No, they do what they do. I've lived in Florida for over 40 years.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're calloused.
A little bit. Central Florida, of course, whatever side of the coast it comes up, if it comes up the east or the west, by the time it comes 60, 70 miles inland, it diminishes. Now, we'll get a lot of rain and wind, but, you know, we're not going to get slammed with 100-mile-an-hour winds.
Oh, very good.
Hopefully. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Jeff,
that's my experience. Yeah. We'll see.
Well, Pat Travers has got a large catalog of music, and so I was just trying to figure out where to dive into next after Art of Time Travel, and I happened to pick PT Power Trio 2. I'm a big Queen fan, so you got a cover of Keep Yourself Alive on there. Can you talk about covering that track?
I on that, did we do Green Eyed Lady on that album?
I believe you did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we like to play that particular tune live. It sounds great. But throughout the 90s, you know, I did albums for Mike Varney and did the best I could under the circumstances, but, you know, they were low-budget affairs, and I didn't write many songs for that stuff. I just covered things.
Yeah, some cool covers, though.
I wanted to bring this back to the Art of Time Travel. You touched on this briefly, that you released it on Cleopatra Records. Can you talk a little bit more about working with Cleopatra Records, and you know, what does the label offer you that other labels wouldn't in this new venture?
Yeah.
Well, I can email the president or get him on my phone anytime. And they're really, he's an artist label, you know. He's kind of old school, too. And so, you know, we collaborate on things like the artwork. And so I always think that's important that you have the president of the record company involved on a personal level in the creative part of the album, and because then that filters down to everybody else that works for him. So they're going to work a little harder to sell more. At least that's my plan.
For sure.
So, but no, Brian Pereira is a pretty unique guy, and it's good. I mean, Todd Rundgren signed with him.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
He did.
so,
I forgot about that.
Yeah. Todd approached Brian, to say, hey, I'd like to release albums on your label. And so that says a lot about Brian Pereira.
Yeah, that Todd Rundgren, every time we ask him to come on the podcast, he always shoots me down. Darn it.
Yeah. I'm such a huge fan, and I've been fortunate enough to play with him a number of times. I played on Saturday Night Live with him in 1981.
Oh, wow.
Awesome.
Yeah, and we spent a New Year's Eve together one night, just Todd and myself and my wife, and Todd had some of that Hawaiian stuff with him, and I was making him laugh. It was funny as fuck. Yeah, it was great.
Very good.
Fun night.
Awesome. Yeah. Jeff, go ahead.
On your newest album, who are the two players you got with you?
David Pastorius on bass guitar, and Alex Petrosky on drums. Although on the title track, that's Tommy Craig on drums, who played with me for a number of years. But when the pandemic started, things got difficult, and it worked out better. Alex and David have known each other since they were teenagers, and they've been playing together for decades. So it just worked out better to have Alex come and play with us, and so he's on 9 tracks, and Tommy's on 1.
Okay. Oh, very good. All right, tough question now. So, guitar players yourself, been around for a long time. How many guitars are in the guitar collection?
Yeah.
Not that many now.
What? Oh, come on now.
No, I, of course, like a lot of guys, I had a whole bunch of guitars, but they usually just end up in the attic or in the closet or under the bed, and you never play them, or, so I got rid of a lot. I think I have 10 or 12. Yeah.
Nice.
Wow. I was expecting Pat Travers to tell me 25 plus. That's what I was expecting.
No, I did at one point, but like I said, it's just, if you think back to guys like Duane Allman, he had one guitar.
Yeah.
He had 2. Dickie Betts gave him an SG to play slide on, but prior to that, he had a 58 Les Paul, and then he traded that for a 59, and that was his only guitar, and then Dickie gave him the SG. So Hendrix, he could use a brand new Strat, so he didn't give a shit, and so he would play all those 69 and with the big headstocks.
Mm-hmm.
And now he played left-handed, but proper left-handed. They reverse the nut, and reset the bridge, and he had the strings for a left-handed guitar, not a right-handed guitar flipped over, which he could play, but he didn't. He played a right-handed Strat strung left-handed.
Oh, okay. Very good. Very good. Well, can you talk a little bit about, you've participated on Out of the Blue Blues Cruise. Is this a thing, an annual thing that you do yearly, or can you give us a little bit more information about it?
Well, that's coming up, and we actually got canceled. We were supposed to do that 2 years ago, and it got, because of the pandemic, it got canceled.
Right.
So we're doing it in this coming January.
Oh, nice.
And it's not. It's out of the. It's not a blues cruise. It's got a real variety of artists on it.
Okay.
So a lot of classic artists from the 70s and 60s,
Nice.
and I'll have to check again, but it should be fun.
Oh, so cool.
It's like my only vacation,
You live in Florida by Orlando, man. You're on vacation every
day's
day,
a
right?
vacation. Yeah.
I guess so.
Good. All right. Well, I got one last question for you, Pat, and then we'll leave you alone for the night.
Okay.
The mystery of rock and roll, with the dawning of the internet, social media, the mystique and mystery of rock and roll has been kind of taken away from us because we know everything about everybody now because it's out there. You've been a part of that era where the mystery of rock and roll was pretty hot and heavy. What do you prefer as an artist? Do you prefer the mysterious mystique part of rock and roll, or do you like this new wave of accessibility? Because let's face it, if we didn't have the internet, you and I and Jeff we wouldn't be doing this right now.
That's a good question. I think some people are putting out too much stuff. Let's not say familiarity breeds contempt, but breeds boredom, maybe, And, it was a different thing. There wasn't so much about the artists, and there weren't so many photos, and there weren't. So I think it's a good thing for artists to be able to connect with their fans. Like, I love getting on my Facebook page, and I'll go and answer a whole bunch of things, and I like that, and I come and go with my Facebook participation. Sometimes I'll get really into it, and I like to tell stories and maybe play an old track that I really like or inspired me, and I'll talk about that. I think people enjoy that, But I know people are live streaming every moment of their day, and I just think that's kind of boring, Yeah, I think there should be more mystique.
Very good.
Well, I'm glad you're still making music. What inspires you to keep doing it?
Well, I can't afford to retire. But the songs keep coming. Yeah. I mean, it's amazing. I keep everything in my head. I do everything in my brain.
Nice.
I'm able now, after years and years of doing it, to pretty much compose some material music in my head and know what it's going to sound like with the drums and the bass and the various parts. I can hear it in my head, and I can move things around if I need to or want to, and then I just, before I forget, I go and grab a guitar and just bang it out to make sure that I have it on another level so I don't forget.
Oh, so cool. We've ran out of our allotted time for this evening. Is there anything that we left off tonight that you would like to plug or promote?
No, just the new album, The Art of Time Travel. Yeah. It's a wonderful record. It's got something for everybody. I think it talks to our times and our anxieties, and has some humor in it and some great playing. Just really good playing.
Absolutely. Well, this is how things are going to work out. We're about 3 weeks behind on our episodes, so we're looking about 3 weeks. So Jeff, the editing wizard over here, will get this all polished up for you, and then we'll send it to you.
That's fine.
Yeah, we'll send it to you and your PR person, and please share it wherever you can on your socials.
All right.
I want to thank you personally myself because this was a bucket list interview for us tonight. You know, I've always said Pat Travers, Robin Trower, Peter Frampton. Those are the guys I want on. I got one. We're going to further interview. So thank you so much.
Getting Trower might be difficult.
I think so.
But I love Illinois. Last time I was in Chicago, I got to see a Cubbies game.
Nice.
And it was just incredible. I loved it. It was the first time I ever went to a Major League Baseball game.
Hey, no better place than Wrigley Field to go see your first baseball game.
Oh, no, it was fantastic.
Fantastic. Pat, thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Take care.
Take
Good
care of
night.
yourself. Good night. Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Everybody hides at home inside their nest of snakes. Everybody grinds the stone and makes their own mistakes. Hide in the headlights, fight the grip of fear. You can make your dreams come true, but you just can't do it here. Hey! Everybody eyes the gun and screams inside their head. Everybody bites
Welcome to the night. You think you know Night Demon? Then the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast is for you. Step into the darkness as we peel back the curtain to give you an unprecedented, all-access look into the mind and the heart of the demon. We're talking band history, song analysis, studio anecdotes, stories from the road. It's everything a diehard Night Demon fan could want and more. This is the only place to learn the inside scoop, the deep dive trivia, the untold tales from the band members themselves and those closest to the Night Demon story. Need more? The Sacred Night Demon Crypt will be pried open to reveal demo recordings that have never before seen the light of day, all with in-depth commentary by the band and the people who were there for the writing and recording process. This is a gold mine, a treasure trove of all things Night Demon. Head over to nightdemon.net or wherever you listen to podcasts.